Joe Mixon is back on the minds of Bengals fans as the Houston Texans running back said his piece about his former team. But what Mixon said about the Bengals, I don't really find that interesting. But it does make me want to get some things off of my chest. And in this video, I'm going to do just that. What's up, Bengals fans? John Sheeran of A2C Sports Cincinnati here. And of the 8 years that I've been covering this team, my least favorite time on this job was not the fallout of losing the Super Bowl. It had nothing to do with a Joe Burrow injury. It's not even right now when the team is in a very frustrating 4-7 state. It was the entirety of the Joe Mixon discourse of 2023. I have never seen such a simple conversation about football be twisted with such toxicity and made so unnecessarily personal before. Watching the whole thing unfold every single day on Twitter for what felt like months was just so draining. But hey, all that's in the past, right? Mixon was not cut, he was traded to a contender in the AFC in the Houston Texans, an offense that primarily runs the ball from under center with zone blocking. It fits his skill set well, and in that offense, he's now putting up volume stats that are reminiscent of his best years in Cincinnati. Both sides have moved on and are only looking forward. At least that's what I thought until Mixon had the opportunity to speak on how things ended in Cincinnati, and he capitalized on it. Mixon spent some time talking with Josina Anderson before Houston's game against Tennessee this past weekend, and the topic of how he left Cincinnati came up. And in short, he was grateful for the majority of his time in Cincinnati, but he recognized that the offense had kind of changed, and he felt like he wasn't utilized properly with the way that the offense was changing, and he also took very obvious issue with certain beat writers who he felt like were not covering him in a fair way. Now, I want to make something very clear here. I have never taken any issue with any player trying to make anything personal just for the sake of just getting that little extra ounce of motivation to keep going and playing at a high level. And I'm not going to start here. Joe Mixon is in the 8th year of his NFL career. He's at a point where a lot of running backs typically hit a decline in their production. Whatever he needs to do to make sure that he's still playing at a high level and he can keep up the energy to keep this going, he needs to do what he's got to do. But ultimately, all of that is the player's perspective. It's nothing new for a player to leave his original team on not so good terms and to speak his mind about it not too long afterwards. But this is not the Bengals letting Andrew Whitworth or Kevin Zeitler walk. It's not them letting Jesse Bates walk. It's not them about to let T. Higgins do the same thing. This was the Bengals trading away a player who simply didn't fit their team anymore. And for the people who still care about this and who still side with Mixon about how the Bengals treated him, I don't understand how you don't see that. The Bengals' biggest issues with Joe Mixon, aside from the fact that he didn't fit the run scheme out of shotgun that they wanted to pair with Joe Burrow, was the fact that he couldn't create for himself, he got tackled behind the line too often, and the explosive plays were extremely limited. And if you've watched Joe Mixon play at Houston this year, all of those issues still exist. Granted, there are more explosive plays that he's getting because he does fit the scheme a little bit better, but the Texans' run game, which is built around Mixon and his skill set, is one of the few in the NFL that is worse than the Bengals in terms of success rate and EPA per rush. Now, has the Bengals' run game been a model of success since Mixon left? Absolutely not. Zach Moss's production dipped tremendously after his first few weeks, and he's out for the year. And Chase Brown, God love him, has been doing all that he can to create on his own. And Brown's emergence as a full-time starter in recent weeks has been proof for the Bengals that yes, you can find similar production with a cheaper option for a running back when he is able to create on his own and he is able to generate explosive plays. But it's also proof that for 95% of running backs, no matter how talented and explosive that they are, blocking matters, scheme matters, offensive architecture matters, and the Bengals don't have that in the run game, and they wouldn't have had it even with Joe Mixon still being here. The Bengals have so much work to do to fulfill the vision of the run game that they have, but it wouldn't arrive quicker if Mixon was still here. There are clear reasons as to why they moved on from him, and they did so in a way that is better than what a lot of other longtime veterans of this team got. So let him say his piece. Let him say what he needs to say in order to keep his career going. But the Bengals have moved on, and the fans should do so as well.